Hello everyone again. I want to spend at least just one movie talking about scratch building and scratch building materials. If I think about it really, although my web pages are about model trains, they're really about scratch building. And scratch building of course means using everyday materials and building things that look like they've been bought in a shop. You'll notice on my whole web page I don't have ads, I don't have any product placement. That's because I don't do it. The thing that I really am proud of with my railway, and this is another story I'm going to get to in a minute, but what I'm really proud of with my railway is that I really haven't bought anything. I've bought some materials from a couple of places and I've acknowledged it, but everything else is homemade. And you know, when people look at something and they know it's all homemade, even if it's not quite right, they think, gee, he's really had a go. And I really like that about scratch building. So I'm going to talk to you about some of my favourite materials. Now, because I've got a boat background, most of the materials that I have used in the past obviously have been water resistant, and I've gone out of my way to do that. When I started with trains, I realised after a while that maybe the same principles didn't apply. But when you do the scenery and you put a lot of water in, I'm sorry, I've realised that the same principles actually do apply. And the more robust materials you can use and the more water resistant materials that you do use in your building, the better. Some people are using cardboard for different things, and cardboard's easy to work with, but I simply won't use it because I think, why cardboard when you can use styrene or plastic? You know, there's a bloody big mess of it in the middle of the Pacific floating around because it just doesn't, it just stays the same. So surely on your model train set or with a boat you should be able to use the same kind of thing. So one of the things, one of my favourite materials is of course plastic. I'll get to that in a moment. Now have a look at what there is in your local hobby shop. Now by the time I've finished, I want you never to have to go into a hobby shop and purchase any of this. You see, you just think about it, people are making a living out of cutting stuff up and selling it to you so that you think you're building stuff out of different... I just can't do it. It just doesn't compute for me. I've got to get it for free, or why? So I on principle, even though I like to go to when I go to a hobby shop, I'll tend to look at the pile of stuff and think, that's an interesting shape. But what goes through my mind is, where can I get that? And you know, that's what just gives me my quirky bit of joy. So what I'm going to tell you about is some of my favourite materials, but for everything I say, there are dozens of alternatives. Timber is always good, and I have a rip saw, as you've seen at different times, and I like to rip down a big block of timber and make it into tiny, tiny pieces so that I can use it for all sorts of modelling. I got a cedar step once from a wrecking yard, ripped it all down, and that formed the material that I used to make the small planks that went around the Lady Shirley, as you can see in this short and very old video. And I've still got that material here. This is just going to last me forever. I think just love that stuff. I've told you about aluminium flashing, and if you look at GPs 1 and 2 you can see what I've used aluminium flashing for, and the list sort of goes on with that. The other material I love is plastic. So whenever you're tempted to use cardboard or ply, think again. Plastic is always better. Now this pile comes from my recent forage at the plastic manufacturers. What you want is thin white plastic, also known as styrene. I find 0.8mm plastic is perfect for almost everything. Thicker stuff is also useful. Ice cream lids, perspex from over projectors is 0.4mm, and it's great for windows and almost anything once you paint it. Also, lots of plastic from toy wrapping, lots and lots of stuff. And you go to the model shops. Give me a break. So what I do is this, I go to the plastic manufacturer and they're humming away, they've got their machines going, and I go in there and I say, I'd like to buy some plastic, I make models. And the guy says, oh, what you after? I said, oh, no, just little bits. And so immediately he glazes over, he's not interested. And he gets the apprentice. And the apprentice comes up to me and he says, what do you want? And I say, I'm looking for thin plastic, some styrene, because I'm a model maker. And he takes me to this thing where they have sheets of the stuff. probably 40 bucks a sheet. And I look at that and say, oh no, I only need a bit. So he looks puzzled, and then this is the key thing. Then you say, what about your skip? Maybe I can have a look in your skip. Now he's happy about that because he doesn't have to sell me anything. Opens the lid on the skip, and there you have it. You've got a modeller's playground. Now what I'm showing you here is some construction with perspex. Now this is a motor unit which will be for the new Nautilus or the submarine. It's got twin props, so I'm not particularly sure I think it's going to be the U-boat. But anyway, that's the way I work, a little bit ad hoc. But this is the hatches for the old Nautilus. All of this came from the skip, all of it. The hull is a mixture of my ripped down cedar from that step, ripped into planks and covered with fiberglass. The other thing I like is carbog. It's brilliant material, and I'm going to use that along the way, and I'll show you. There's a bit of a trick with using carbog. Now finally, rod. My favourite source of rod is from the welding shop. I love stainless steel rod. It's for TIG welding, TIG welding. They sell this stuff in boxes, and when they know that you're a modeller, they give you a sort of a knowing smile, and because they sell it in quite heavy boxes, if there's one that's open, they'll just take 3 or 4 pieces off, give it to you, or maybe ask you for 20 cents or something. That's not too bad, because this stuff is brilliant. Bronze welding is also good because you can solder it. Thin metal material comes from wiring. You don't throw wiring away. This stuff here, I found at the tip one day. It's got 3 strands. One's very thick and 2 are thinner. I've used this for all of the railings on the Lady Shirley. They all come out of that lovely stuff I got at the tip one day. Prop tubes and any kind of brass tubing I find at a wrecking yard where you have old cars with car aerials. It's just an endless source of lovely brass tube. Whenever you see car aerials, rip them off. Be careful, but at least go to a wrecking yard and get them, because they're a brilliant source of tube. Okay, well that's probably enough for now. I've just gone through some of the materials that I like to use, and hopefully you'll find that useful. See you later.